Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I realized quickly when I started planning for the session that an hour is way too short to deal with all aspects around waste. So if we don't get to everybody's questions, or if you feel that you need some additional input from our experts, we are going to have more regular discussions around waste. And in fact, there is one coming up in July where we're going to be focusing on packaging specifically. But we've also just added a cool feature to the GSN website. We've got a suggestion box. So if you have a question that you'd like us to deal with, or if you have any other suggestion, we'd love your feedback. Let us know and we'll get to it right away. GSN is extremely grateful for this very knowledgeable panel today. Thank you very much. And this is truly a global panel. I mean, we've got our panelists from Scotland, from Canada, from Vietnam, from Saudi Arabia and the USA. Thank you very much for joining us. We're really excited to hear your perspectives. I mean, you are representing 3 different industries within the greater spa and hospitality industry. So I think it's a very comprehensive panel. I'm going to be very short in my introductions. The full biographies of every panelist is available on the GSN website. So without further ado, I want to welcome from the manufacturing industry, Noel Asmar, who is the president and CEO of Noel Asmar Group, Inc., a really well-known and a trusted spa and wellness uniform brand. From the spa and hospitality industry, I welcome Sue Williams, who's a hotelier and independent sustainability advisor for Positive Hospitality Limited. Sue has done a really amazing sustainability work with Watley Manor, an award-winning spa and resort in the UK. I also welcome Daniel Spencer. He's the director of spas, the Spa at Tehi and Agua Caliente Sunstone Spa. The Spa at Tehi is the recipient of the GSN Sustainable Spa of the Year Award most recently. And I also welcome Amy Nguyen and Naden, both from Six Senses Hotels, Resorts and Spas. Amy is Regional Director of Sustainability and Na is the Sustainability Manager of Six Senses Ninh Thuan Bay in Vietnam. And I don't have to say much about Six Senses. It's really one of the global hospitality groups that's done so much in the field of sustainability and has really done innovative work. So yeah, we're really grateful for your presence. And I also want to welcome you, Marian Cardoso. Marian is the Sustainability Account Manager at G2 Revolution and spearheading its spa brand Glow Recycling. So Marian will be talking to us from the perspective of the recyclers out there. Thank you once again. Today, we are not going to talk about the problem of waste. We are rather going to be focusing on practical solutions to deal with our waste problem. And we're going to look at how to take intelligence from our waste audits and to use that to practice waste management ethically and sustainably. And I think also ultimately find ways in which we can truly become the wellness generators that we say we are. So without further ado, let's talk about zero waste and some of the steps that we can take to get zero waste. And zero waste is really, you know, when I talk about that, I refer to solid waste that goes directly to landfill. Of course, as an industry, we also generate all sorts of other wastes, including, you know, the air pollution through the emissions that we generate and through our waterways. But we'll be focusing on the solid waste issue for now. And I'm going to ask each of my panelists to share their 2 waste practices that they found most helpful in their own businesses. And just in random order, Sue, I'm going to start with you.
Hello there. Good afternoon, evening, everybody. So at Watley, I mean, a lot of it's been around education. Do you know, I have to really start with that point, really kind of explaining to the team, giving them the why, really explaining more about the circular economy and getting them to kind of shift their whole headspace around waste and really that it becomes our next resource. So we've had a lot of success in just sheer volume. We've gone from 1100 litre bins down to 3. And really this has been through collaboration. It's going to be curious. It's going to be asking and talking to your suppliers, really training the team. Sorry, I know I'm hopping here, but it's training the team to be curious before they place an order, to speak to the suppliers in the first instance and explain the journey we're on at Whatley, and that this is one of our primary focuses. And could we indeed not receive the packaging, or reduce the packaging, or just learn more about it and its actual composition in the first instance, I guess. And just by these sort of conversations, we have little by little managed to kind of reduce it tremendously. So yeah, a worthwhile exercise. Yeah. I mean, it's very key as well, just talking to your waste carrier. I have to say that's been an exercise and a half. I've actually been to 3 waste depots now, very glamorous, with my hard hat and my Visi vest, to go and understand the journey of our waste. So it took a while, I guess, as you go. You're not asking the right questions initially, but you come to understand that some practices are better than others, and then ultimately finding the right partner who will guarantee and certify that it is zero to landfill. So, with all our complex different streams through the hotel and spa, we are certified as zero to landfill. So it's kind of that on one hand, and then actually reducing the volume that you have in the first instance.
Thanks, Sue. Now, what are the 2 practices that you found useful?
I think apparel in general gets a lot of attention for waste, obviously global waste from consumer side, but we never talk about the industrial side of how apparel is used in hospitality and spa. So one of the commitments we have internally in the company is looking for ways to make product degradable, and it's a very long process. It requires the science field to be involved, and looking for ways, if we can't ensure our customers, being our spa customers and hospitality customers, are able to get their product back into recycling facilities and have things recycled or upcycled, we know we're not going to ever get to that 100%. So we have been in development at the fabric level. And when we're talking about industrial use, constant washings, the industrial use on a product like a uniform or a robe or your towels, your sheets, etc., it all comes down to, for us, educating our customers and really having them understand. Often when we think about sustainability, we often think we need to look for natural fibers, and in some instances that is certainly a viable option. In other instances, if it means you're having to turn over your stock that much more often, we just have to measure the output of some of the decisions that we make pending the types of fibers that we're using. We only do uniforms, we don't do robes, towels, etc. But we're really interested in that as well, because we're talking with the GSN team. Could we do research? Could we really get a better understanding of what is the overall impact of textiles in general in our industry, and hope that we'll get some buy-in on putting out some surveys to better understand that. The second is we launched Hospitality Lifecycle in 2019. We actually launched at the Global Wellness Summit, and it was just before COVID. The response was fabulous. The concept was really bringing an initiative to our industry to bring more awareness around what happens to all the textiles in our business. And we're quite textile heavy. You think about the towels and the washcloths and robes and our blankets and etc. It is quite textile dependent. And so we've partnered with a number of recyclers in North America at this point that will help find the best solution when you're ready to dispose of your linens or any type of textile. So Hospitality Lifecycle is the name of that initiative, and it's an ongoing process, just like everything else in terms of sustainability.
Thank you very much. I think it's a great step that you've taken to serve us, and certainly, I think we need to get involved in some of the research there. Emmy, what would you like to share?
Yes, good evening or good afternoon, everyone. So from our point of view, when we are running the hotel and resort, no, we thinking about the system for the waste segregation. That is the important thing when we talk about the waste management program. Because when you going around the resort, you might ask all of the staff, everyone, how do you know what is the compostable, what is what you can recycle them? They will answer you correctly. However, why this is not going to the end of the conversation, because the system not there, not exist into the hotel, into your operation. So the system, I just want to mention about how you can set up the system, how the system can be centralized with all of the department, not only in one of the resort, but all of the resort around the world. It should be color code, right? So when you have any different kind of waste, you just want to put it into the same color everywhere. So it will become your memories. So when you have the compostable one, you remember, okay, this is brown, so you need to put in a brown. I know that in Europe and many of the developed country, this is very like normal thing. But in Southeast Asia and also in Africa, that is not the normal thing. That is new thing. And even talking about Saudi, this is very, very new thing. So you just need to understand where we are operate the business, and then have a system over there that all of the team, oh, sorry, I am having the sensor that saving
Energy
energy.
saving.
Yes, yes. So yeah, sorry, just getting distracted. Yeah, and system is very useful, and that would be must for all of the operation. Then the second thing, when we're talking about the circular economy, when you're having your recycling and also reuse program on site. Talking about Six Senses property, we have done the water bottling plant in-house for 99% of the property. Basically, we are producing our own water and using the reusable glass bottle. So you're not using any of the plastic bottle. Not only talking about the recycling the program. However, with this, you can avoid like 100,000 per property per year, at least is equal to 3 tons of plastic per year per property. And also with the producing your own vegetable on site, that is also our signature for each of the Six Senses as well. And for sure that Getsu already mentioned about the local partner, very useful when we are working with diversity to turn our user into the new soul for the community, local people and partners to collect all of the uniform, turn into the new rugs, and turn the used cooking oil into biodiesel. So that is kind of the highlight we can share from our Six Senses operation.
Thank you. Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah, I think one of the things was, is kind of taking and categorizing what categories different wastes kind of fall into. So one of the big things was we partner with an aluminum bottle company, very high quality. So it's a thicker aluminum, has a really long usable rate, and then working with our art department, creating a really nice spa design that someone would want to continue keeping the bottle. So instead of using and handing out plastic bottles, we hand out the aluminum and then have them refill that. They take that with them. In combination with that, had our QR code put on it, so that would allow for them to go straight to our website, immediate, right into our spa menu. It became very versatile because we didn't have to worry about if we were doing an event or a show, and we know that we're right in the middle of maybe a menu change. So a lot of times you go to an event, you have your menu, you're handing these out, but you know that tomorrow your prices are changing. So you're kind of giving out material that's not going to be accurate. We saved about 9,000 paper menus. So we reduced our paper while at the same time significantly reducing the plastic bottle usage that we would typically hand out to a guest coming in asking for a menu. And then we say, would you like a bottle of water? So it was finding a way to kind of combine, multiple benefits to handing it out, plus just the longevity, and that a guest would want to keep that menu or that water bottle and continue reusing it. So that was one of probably we did that with both spas, very successful. Guests would come in asking for paper. You've seen a lot more QR codes out there, but a lot of times they're like, can I just get a menu? But if, with us, they say, would you like a menu, or would you like this water bottle with a QR code that has the menu? 9.5 out of 10 times they want the water bottle. So it's been very successful. The other one was going through high consumable. So working with like our sandal company, they will take back the sandals and put those through a second recycling program. It's with our capacity at Sehi, it's very high. So we just wanted to make sure that those things that aren't necessarily one-time use, but have a little bit of a longer longevity, that at the end of life, there was a second life for it. So that was, probably that, other than our VRF system, which is our air-cooled air conditioning system. So it's not water-cooled. Commercial buildings typically use water cooling systems. They use a ton of water. So again, now it's more of a waste on water. So that was more of a design and construction side of things. But definitely, as people are looking into that, that for us, that was a really important area, especially out here in the desert with the water restrictions.
Great suggestions. Thanks. And Marian.
Of course. Well, thank you, Charné, for inviting us to, give the perspective of the recycler with this amazing panel. I would say before diving into the two strategies that we advise every day to our clients, I want to start by mentioning something that maybe applies to all industries. I think when it comes to sustainability and recycling and waste management, the solutions are always specific, and they vary depending on the industry, your business models, the services and products that you carry. But one thing that I believe that can be useful across the board is finding out the why. Why is sustainability important to you? Why do you need to do it? Is it because it's considered a great marketing asset? Is it because of a financial need? Is it because you want to get on board with the trends? Or is it because you want to answer to your consumer needs? So finding out the why is sustainability important to your business, is the first step. And again, I believe it applies across the board. And once you find the why, you're able to tailor and create these specific strategies, the ways to measure. You will understand what are the specific steps that you can take to analyze your waste streams, to understand your volume and the frequency in which you are producing them. So that's one thing. I think that's always the first step, understanding the why for you and for your team. Now, when it comes to two strategies that I apply day to day, and they're extremely useful, and I encourage our clients to apply to, I would say, one, have a comprehensive recycling program that goes along with education and training for you, for your team, and also to educate your consumer or your user or your guest. And also an important thing is partnering with like-minded companies. And that extends to finding the right suppliers that, share your view on sustainability. And it also extends to sustainable procurement, which is something that, it's being talked about a lot across different industries. And it's basically this way of how once you have found the why and created the strategies, so to execute them, you have to find the right vendors and suppliers. So those are your key partners that you need to find. If you are able to relate and create partnerships with like-minded businesses, your entire supply chains and your goals and a strategy that you have set will be around sustainability. So I would say those two things: have a comprehensive recycling program that goes along with training, and find like-minded businesses that can support your sustainability vision.
Well put, thank you very much. I hear a lot around education, that's really important, and I hear a lot around changing mindsets. A small little practice that I recommended for a client who had a large corporate section was simply to remove waste bins from everybody's offices and have a centralized recycling system in the one part of the building. So that forced people to get up from their seats and take their waste all the way to the recycling. And that process of walking all the way there with your rubbish hopefully helps you to think about it a bit. So just a small little step just to help change mindsets. But let's talk a little bit about the next topic that I want to raise, and that is corporate governance and waste management and how they fit together. The question that I most often get from my SPA clients when they want to implement a waste management strategy is to start with the recycling regime. So they want to get that started first. And that may not necessarily be the best starting point. I think if we want sustainability firstly, and specifically a waste management program to stick, we have to create policies and procedures that we can implement and that are effective and transparent and keeps us accountable to them. And that is where corporate governance comes in, is to really create that background structure that you can rely on, and that sets that blueprint for you when you move forward with your plan. And I have a 4-step corporate governance guide that I usually provide to my guests, and I can just quickly summarize that. But corporate governance is not new to us in our industry. I mean, we have our KPIs, we have a strategy around our KPIs, we have budgets, we have an evaluation system, and that is really what corporate governance is all about. So the first step is really then to set the strategy, to decide once you are going to go onto a waste management program, what you want to achieve, what will be your ultimate goal. And my recommendation is at least to try for a 30% reduction in your solid waste. And I think it's very achievable. The second thing is to engage with your stakeholders. As you say, Marian, they play a very important role in your business. They are the ones who are going to be at the receiving end of your new policies and processes. And your stakeholders would include your clients and your customers, obviously, but also your suppliers. You will go to them and you will expect them to reduce their packaging, for example. So your suppliers are important, but then don't forget about your own SPA team. I mean, and as you said, Sue, it is so important to involve them. If you make them part of your strategy along every step that you take on the waste management process, they will help you execute it. So you need their buy-in and your understanding of what you want to achieve to really make it work. And then we've got to create good policies. And I think it's something that I often find lacking in our industry. There are things that we want to do and we talk about it, but then we don't have the document that helps us set those guidelines to follow. So the policy that I normally create for my SPA clients really looks very similar to an operation manual. So it sets out the steps from A to Z, and it also serves as an educational tool. So it describes the different waste streams that you will get in your daily business. It describes what you need to do with the waste, how to safely work with it. And then, it talks about the different production, reuse, and recycling strategies. And ultimately, it ends off with a very good step-by-step guide onto how to conduct your waste audit. And then, of course, the waste audit or the evaluation system is then the last step that you need to take. And that is so important. I don't think we can ever expect to have success with our waste management program if we don't have a way of measuring it. So, and I'm going to talk about auditing a little bit later, but those are really the steps that I recommend about my clients, and that I think would be a good first step. But let's move on to circularity. I mean, the circular economy comes with many different names. It comes with thrifting and reuse and recycling and sharing. But before we get to that, you know, we need to understand where waste comes through our front door. And that's on the procurement side. And that is when we buy all the stuff that we need to make successful businesses. So I think that is a critical starting point in your waste management strategy. And Daniel, I'd love to hear more from you about it. I mean, your property, the Spa Tsechi, is situated at a very unique and a much revered hot mineral springs, which is both a very important cultural and ecological resource. So it's imperative for you to make sure that you know your environment is protected against excessive waste.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's the thing with the properties, you know, Sunstone Spas in Rancho Mirage, it's on the outskirts of town. It's definitely more of a resort styled spa where it's got the entertainment, the hotel, you know, food. And with Sehi, we're right in downtown Palm Springs. It's kind of in the heart of everything. It's just one city block that we're working with. Kind of going through how we needed to operate, which was a little different than being at a resort where you've got that hotel support. We had to look at things a little differently. We do transport, you know, a lot of our items out for linen washing, and definitely it's we don't have the big departments within the property to work with, so we had to just function a little differently. You know, and that's where kind of the categorization of kind of the waste types there are, because you have, you know, recycling and reuse, you've got longevity of lifespan, you've got the biodegradability and environmental impacts, then you've got transportation processes, and then, you know, it is finding the partners and the resources that also were doing their own, kind of taking their own efforts, because some things are just out of your control. And so then it's saying, okay, well, if we can't control these certain things, then what companies are we working with that are? Kind of going back to the aluminum to reduce plastics. Our linens are an extremely lightweight linen. They dry faster, they use less water to wash, they dry on a lower heat setting. You know, we're doing about double the amount of capacity in our laundry bins of what can go out on a load. So, you know, when you think about that weight and energy usage, transporting these back and forth from the wash facilities, you know, finding companies with, example, we have for Sehi, we have sandals that their shelf life is a little shorter, but then as soon as we're done with those, we can return those back to our vendor, to our partner, and they'll recycle those for us. Compared to at Sunstone, we have sandals that have a very long shelf life. But, you know, when you think about, you know, disposal and one-time use sandals, it's a much more effective process. Going into the amenities, looking at, you know, because there's recycling, and a lot of people, I think, can just immediately go to, okay, it needs to go in a recycle bin to go get recycled. But sometimes that's not, you know, it's kind of, it's like when someone says, let's do a wellness program, and everyone says, well, let's do yoga. You know, we all do yoga. There's so many other, you know, there's red light therapy, there's wellness classes, there's nutrition. So I think when we talk about recycling and kind of helping, you know, with our team, we're trying to show them different ways we're approaching that recycling effort. So for us, we're saying, okay, well, if we don't have to recycle something, that's almost even better. So we get a cleaning product, and we used to get, you know, the big gallon jugs, We replace that out with tablets. They go in our water, and we can make our own cleaner. We're going in with sheets that dissolve in the water for washing for the stuff we do wash in-house. So when you think about the weight capacity of bringing gallons of jugs of material in and in plastic, and now it's coming in a small, cardboard box or paper bag that has little dissolvables that make a cleaning solution, and we're using water here, we're saving energy, so it's, again, that's kind of where the categorization of then, because then you can really evaluate, where you're saving and what's the goal and what fits your personal property. So, if it comes to consumables like amenities in a locker room, we do, bamboos that have paper packaging. So we've recently switched out to the paper packaging, so even if, when you think about just every little tiny bag of plastic that's wrapped around something, if you can find a vendor, like we work with vendors that don't send the packaging, it's just like they send it in its most basic form. We have retail out on the floor that is not coming in the cardboard box. It's just the bottle that it's coming in. Back bar supplies, is coming in glass jars. So yes, we do then have to kind of deal with the weight, because yes, the glass is going to be heavier than what the plastic is for our, let's say, our treatment oils. But at the same time, the recycling side, and even if the glass is, chucked into a landfill somewhere, it is just glass. It's not plastic that's breaking down. We use bamboo plates, or I'm sorry, banana leaf plates in the cafe. So, that's, we use bamboo forks and things, but, the banana leaves, those are, that's a much more sustainable, even more so than the wood, because the development of it is just much easier and, grows fast. So there's just, everything kind of compounds itself. Looking at, the vendors themselves, what are they also doing? So if they're, they might be planting trees. So if you're looking at your vendor and putting, or your partner, and kind of putting the expectation, like, this is what I'm looking for. And a lot of times we can get it's easy to get stuck on, certain brands. So at Sunstone, as we were preparing Sahi, we beta tested a lot, and it gave us a lot of time to look at each brand we were working with and say, okay, well, what are you doing on your side? Because even if we do a bunch of stuff on our side, we don't understand, like, what was their manufacturing process? What is the shipping process? What is the, for kind of development to end of life. So that was a big project, just going through anything from the amenity side to the retail side, and just operationally, how did we function, and how do we find brands that, maybe they have a reef project that they support. So really kind of understanding, what are they supporting, but then also, what is that process of making their product, and are they, to really, I guess, to look for true value. So like, ensuring that they're really taking those additional steps, other than saying, hey, we donate 10% to the ocean projects. But in the process of making their products, what are they doing, and what are they doing for also the safety and sustainability for guests? Because the people touching the product, the therapists touching the product every single day, what are they absorbing in every single day on the products? And so it goes beyond that. We did our flooring, we used all conductive flooring. So it's all EMF. It basically takes the entire environment and reduces the EMF fields. So it's purpose-driven kind of products, purpose-driven equipment. So it's kind of diversifying that waste and the purpose of having your products.
Great. And I mean, it's really about creating perpetual value, isn't it? So it's not something that you take and you make, and that's, that goes to trash at the end of the day. So it really adds value throughout the entire process. And but moving on to you, Emmy and Na, what's to me that really stands out is that so many of Six Senses properties are located in areas that are really remote or are island-based properties. So, and you guys have really had to innovate around your waste because truly it's got nowhere else to go. So you will be focusing a lot on your reuse and reduction strategies. I wonder now if I can start with you. I mean, you're based in Lincoln Bay, which is on a very remote peninsula. What are you guys doing to reduce?
So thank you so much for inviting me into this discussion. So first of all, we have to think that being sustainable, working in the circular economy is really benefit in terms of payment for it, because we are in the remotest area. Just like if we keep buying this stuff outside from the mainland, we have to pay a lot of money for that. And then by reusing the stuff, reducing our demand, so we have the chance to profit on more and more people. So reuse strategies is the main component in how we run our sustainable operation. Reuse here means like we extend the lifespan of all our products. For example, the linen. It's firstly come to F&B for a certain, but when over time is overused, and then we upcycled it into the cover of the cups, cover of chopstick, cover of the trays, and we keep using it in the housekeeping. And yes, and we also reuse the bamboo. We have a lot of decoration in the big festival along the years, and we are not like every time we build one bamboo decoration and then throw it away, but then we use it time by time. So leading by the example, in the managers, like everyone in our department, we had to leading by example, like we are the one really pioneering in terms of reusing. So we have to think, is this either one-time event use or not, or we can use this for another time. So it's mean we use it, reuse it. And this reusing strategy is not applied for guests, it's applied for hosts. It's with our staff and also for our suppliers, because we are seeking for some supplier who also want to join our plastic-free packaging. We sign the contract with them. Or beside that, we create the take back program. So if they cannot reduce the package, we can send the pack back to them, and then back and forth, they can send it to us. So it's like we don't create trust. We are like sending and make a sustainable contract with our supplier. And the second point, we try to reduction strategies. It's like we even give it to our communities. For example, our bike. We buy the new one, and then we maintain our old bike and send it to our communities. Because we are in the remotest area, and we want our community around us also sustainable and living a happy life. That's why our sustainability is not for our hotel inside, but also for the community outside. That's why we benefit for people, for our hosts, for our community, and good for our planet, where they create less waste to the environment. And also we make sure for our profit, because we are reducing the cost that we had to buy daily and monthly. So that's make our operation more sustainable and in terms of circular way like that.
Thank you, Emmy.
Yes, so yeah, just want to give you more additional in Nga. opinion and also the presentation. So all in all, that is great practical practice in Six Senses property in Ninh Bình Bay. And I just want to give kind of the zero waste philosophy at Six Senses. We prioritize with refuse. So basically, you know that most of our resort in the remote area, right? So first we need to refuse to bring waste plastic into our property by supplier engagement program. Like they are not bringing plastic. They want to be with us to avoid plastic packaging, plastic product. Then after refuse will be reused. We try to reuse as much as we can until like you cannot use anymore. If you see around the Six Senses garden, you might see some of the toilet, even kind of the toilet we are using to grow something out of the wooden pallet that we get from the villa. We also using for our garden to make also the table out from that as well. I think now also giving the good example about that. And refill program also really important. And the end will be recycling, because you know all of the recycling requires the energy. So you spend energy to recycle. So that will be end of our process. And the important thing that we need to make the assessment from beginning. So we have the waste audit every year. This need to be happen in any of the property to make sure that you check how much waste do you have, how much waste you are sending to recycling, and also how much is the waste diversion. So you know where are you standing, then you can set up the target to reduce the waste that you are having. So that is really important, and we require each of the Six Senses need to do this assessment every year. Training and engagement really important. That's I see all of the expert here also mentioned about that, but also with our guests as well. One of the example that we are putting in the villas for the guests, one of the bag, if they are bringing any of the plastic bottle, battery, or can, or any of the cosmetic, they just need to put it into the bag and bring back with them. So this is kind of the engagement with the guests, so they know how to be together with us for this battle. Before they coming to the resort, they also get a packing list. This is what you should bring, this is what you should not bring to our islands, especially the plastic bag and plastic bottle. So this is the thing that the guests love about guest engagement program, and this is to show not only showing but also seeing the guests very engaged with our initiative, and this is what guests want to do that. So when we can show the owner about the guest demands, we can convince owner with many of the decisions in terms of sustainability, because we can say guests want that, guests need that, so the owner cannot say no. That is one of our strategy. Yeah, and then recycling on site, I think we mentioned about that. The important thing, just last thing, important thing about recognition and reward. We have our sustainability heroes and plastic hero in all of the Six Senses property, and also from corporate as well. They will nominate who is doing great in the property in terms of the plastic elimination, and then we also have the reward for that as well. I think all of the hosts, all of the staff in our resort, they need that thing, like they need the motivation, and they can continue doing that. That is also the key for us.
Great, these are all great suggestions. Thank you very much. And one thing that really stands out also is that, you know, we don't always appreciate that the communities our more vulnerable communities are the communities that suffer the most when we don't practice our waste management ethically and properly. So it's really, I mean, I've written down so many of your great suggestions. Thank you very much. Staying on the topic of circularity, we now have 3 different industry perspectives on recycling and education in recycling, and also how to really work with your recycling partner. And I'm going to start really from the point of manufacturer. So I'd very much like to hear, Noel, from you, and then Sue, you could just fall right in, and Marion, if you can close the discussion on recycling. Thank you very much.
Of course, thank you. I'm going to just share a recent story of one of our properties that we are working with in the United States, and they're a multi-property brand. And some of the ideas we had brainstorming back and forth that could be potentially just some ideas for those that are attending this webinar. How do you handle any of your waste when you don't really have the partners to collaborate? And you have to realize, as you're hearing all of these panelists on this call, we too are also figuring this out, trying to figure this out. And it is a question of pairing up with great, either your companies that you're procuring from, but also during COVID, a lot of the recycling stations in North America closed. So there is this, as you may or may not know, so there is right now really a push to find more organizations that are interested in investing in recycling plants so that you can upcycle and take raw materials and turn them into new types of either building materials, insulation. You know, you can take apparel and have it shredded, and it's a fantastic insulator for building materials. And this is happening with this customer that we were talking to. They bought well, so their product was still in really good shape. And this is part of the process. So they purchased well, but they were ready for a rebranding. And so something within this operations dictated that they needed a change. Could be color, maybe it's tables, it could have an interior objective, or so what they decided to do is, in this instance, it was uniforms. They were able to re-outfit another property that wasn't in this color with an existing uniform program because it was in such good shape. So when you think about, do you really need to get rid of it? Do you really need to throw it away? Do you really think about your end of life strategies when you're thinking of your buying? I'm thinking of, you know, those that are attending this seminar. It really does start with procurement. It really starts with understanding what types of products we are buying and really having already that process in place, coming back to what you were saying, Charné, about your processes. And generally the process for recycling any types of the products, machines, equipment, reusables, disposables, etc., aren't really part of the documented plan in procurement. And I think until we see that to start happen, and we see that recycling or sustainability actually has a line item on the P&L, it's going to make it really difficult at property level if it isn't truly a corporate initiative. And while we have amazing directors on property wanting to do, ambitious to do really amazing things for their property, like most of you are saying on the panel, it really takes corporate strategy and dedicated commitment, education on the programs, and baby steps are just as good. So yeah, I am understanding from the recyclers today, your end of life strategy started how you produce the product or how you're procuring the products. I think that would be my biggest piece of, you know, pass on to everybody listening, is really just ask those questions up front. And while you may be responsible for actually recycling them or the end of life strategies for those, think about, are you passing off your problem to somebody else, or are you really creating a solution that's got a circularity in mind?
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
Sue.
I just think conversations like this are just fabulous, aren't they? You kind of realize what great work is going on around the world. But also I think it serves to remind just kind of how wasteful an industry, I know that we could apply it to many industries, but really how wasteful hospitality and the spa world has been over the years, past. So I just think it's fabulous that, you know, one of the real pros to our industry is the creativity that exists. And there's just so many tremendous solutions that are starting to come to the fore. But I think, you know, and it's been said, but starting with strategy is absolutely paramount. And, you know, on our property, we are working to an external accreditation, a very sort of rigorous sort of science-based accreditation. It's called EarthCheck. It is around the world. They've got 1,000 members around the world. And they're certainly requiring us to sort of measure absolutely everything. And that sort of well-said statement about you can't manage what you haven't measured. So I really think that the whole piece and it just guides you as you go. There is you know, when you go through the process and you're measuring the whole thing, you know, we've now got a complete carbon footprint. So we've literally done our sort of scopes 1, 2, and 3. And, you know, when all that hard work is done and you do your diagnostics, you come to understand that 80% of your carbon sits in the supply chain. So just echoing what's been said about, you know, the purchasing and getting that purchasing right, getting the right partners is absolutely key. So it's an area that we've put a great amount of focus, of course, into back on property. It's just rewarding all round. There's just so much that can be done in that space. And my second little bit would be really about try and make it quite fun and engaging for the team. 2 secs.
Oh, sorry.
And sorry, a little interfere. And making it sort of, fun and communicating it differently to get this culture embedded in the team. And one of the things we did, and I know this is really small, but hopefully it's a little takeaway for those listening in, is that we no longer have a bin area at a property. What we have is our recycling center. We had some signage made up that said it's ours. So that really is, again, it's all about ownership. We took the fencing that's away because typically it's sort of your back of house ugly space, but we removed it so that sort of prevented this the ability just to kind of sort of lazy practices and maybe just sort of dropping the rubbish there. It had to be absolutely sort of separated and segregated correctly. So, you know, I have to say now the guests walk past and it's really quite a, you know, shining example of how it can be done and should be done. And going through the whole process, we've simply reduced, you know, these conversations, all these components bring you to the point where we started with our 14 1,100 litre bins and bringing it down to 3. So it's a great way of changing the headspace of the team. And very, very finally, you talk about fun, try and do an upcycling project, get the team. And our last little one was a Christmas tree. We asked the different departments to make a Christmas tree from upcycled materials they found on property. I can't tell you the fun and the creativity that came out of it and what have you. So I don't know, there's just so many ways of going about it, but they all go to equal good outcomes and great results.
Thank you. Marian.
Well, I would say that the first step to embrace sustainability, again, is defining the why, you know, where everything starts, that what would give you the reason and just the drive to set a specific goals and a specific actions. Now, when it comes to finding the right partner, the right recycler, it's about first assessing your needs, understanding where your business is going, what are your individual sustainability goals, and how a third-party partner can help you achieve those. And now, what do you need to look out when you're finding the right partner, the right recycler? Evaluate their capabilities and services. What do they offer? Yes, they recycle, but what type of waste streams? Do they recycle amenity bottles? Do they recycle products that you carry at your wellness locations? Let's talk about wax strips, or let's talk about applicators, or let's talk about towels or other items that are carried out through your entire facility. So understanding what that provider might service and what your waste streams what waste streams are you producing is important, because finding the solution, it's not the end. Now, finding the right solution, that would lead you to achieve great things. So that is one thing. Also, assess the reputation and references that this supplier might have. what are the certifications? What is this, actor doing within its own industry that you are trying to tackle, which is sustainability? So knowing that information is a key differentiator to make the right decision to partner with a recycler. Also, the environmental impact that this recycler is having, that is also extremely important for a company who performs within the sustainability industry. What is your impact? What is your social impact? What are the other things that are important to a business that this recycler can bring to yours? And also monitoring the performance. Once you have entered in a partnership with a recycler or a vendor, you need to monitor what that relationship looks like for you. And not only translates into how many pounds we have, we're collecting, or how frequent we ship back collection boxes or bulk forms of our products. It also talks about, are the timelines okay? Are this, is this provider meeting all of my needs regarding how we're collecting the waste, how frequently we're shipping it out? What are the solutions that this vendor is providing to these waste streams that I'm sending to their facilities? And also, I want to touch on something that Noel mentioned briefly, which is the end life of the product. When we're talking about recycling or sustainable solutions, that's the goal, the end life of the product, not the momentary solution. That's what will lead you to have transparency around your process. That's what will lead you to improve and actually know if your recycling program is effective. So, having the right communication and having the right information is extremely important around the recycler or partners in general. One thing that we focus on tremendously at G2 Revolution and Glow is acquiring the right certifications. There are many types of certifications that give faith that you're sustainable, that you donate products to certain organizations, or that you lead with a sustainability mindset. Right, but what are those right certifications? One of them that we have relied on for many years is the Green Circle Certified, which means that all of the material that enters our G2 and Glow recycling facilities gets diverted from the landfill. And that touches on something that Daniel mentioned as well. Not all of the materials are able to be recycled. There are hard to recycle materials, there are non-recyclable materials, there are hazardous waste. There's a lot of classifications for solid waste, right? Or different types of waste streams. So understanding what are the possible solutions to that is extremely important, because that will lead you to know, how am I gonna market? How am I gonna communicate and educate my team and my consumer? Am I going to be, talking about a recycling program? Am I going to be talking about sustainable solutions for certain materials? Am I going to touch on single-use materials, plastic? So I believe, this part of selecting the right vendor, it talks about gathering the right information and having the right conversations. So, and now when you have the right partner to execute all of your initiatives, now we go to the education part. And usually when we talk about recycling, we stayed on the awareness. We need to create awareness. We need to prompt behavioral change that we also, it was also mentioned throughout this discussion. It's something that we have to navigate when it comes to recycling for our team, for ourselves, and for our consumer or guest. But awareness is not the entire process of education when it comes to sustainability and recycling. It's just simply not enough, because sustainability talks about longevity, talks about things that can, go through time. So we need to have awareness within our team and within and for our consumers. We need to share knowledge. Empower your team with the right information. So if you have selected the team that is going to lead the recycling initiative or the sustainability initiative within your business, give them knowledge. Give them the right contacts of the recyclers. Who are your providers? How frequent it is? Who do you need to contact to make this happen? What are the troubleshooting processes for your recycling or sustainability program? And also, you need to engage people after you have given them the knowledge. Engagement is a huge part of making a program successful. And once you have engaged people with that, you will have advocates. that would talk about your program, that will know how to lead your program, that will know how to expand the program. So having all those 4 stages of education within your plan, I think it's extremely important. It will set the tone to know when to do what, to know when to expand, to know when to invest certain resources or time into certain areas. And again, once you have established that plan, that partnership, monitor, be able to measure that it is being effective, and give a feedback to your recycler. This is how things are working out for you. This is how our program is going. Have quarterly or monthly touch bases, and when you know what your impact is, what are the waste streams? Can we change? Can we add waste streams? Can we find a different solution for a specific type of material or a specific type of product? Is the volume the one factor that is driving the success of the program, or is it the participation? Because those things can be put into one box, but they are very different. And when you learn what to measure and when to measure it, you'll know, or you'll understand fully if the program is being effective. So there are many things to have in account when you partner with a recycler. And I would say, as Noel mentioned, yes, during COVID, it was a challenging time. I would say that for us at G2, we stayed opened. We had a lot of, it was a busy period of time for us. For different industries, mostly at G2 Revolution, we work with manufacturers and retailers. So they are always, on the works, and we are as well. And for the Glow side, it changes a little bit the dynamic, since Glow is a more tailored program by the users, right? While with G2, we're able to assess, understand your needs, and provide a bulk or a melt-back solution. With Glow, we give our users the chance to tailor their program. So they have certain types of containers or solutions, and they decide which one they should use. So again, understanding, educating, and always monitoring the effectiveness of your program.
Right, thanks, Marion. Thanks. And I think what is so unique about our industry is that we really produce waste along all the waste streams. So we've got compostable and organic waste, recyclables, and all the way to hazardous waste. So it's something that I think makes us quite unique, and it gives us the advantage to innovate quite a bit around it. We have we've taken up the entire hour. And I really still wanted to get to a discussion around waste auditing and some of the practical processes and steps that you need to take. I don't want to infringe on your time any longer. And perhaps I can just close with a video. There is an article on the GSN website. You'll probably find it the next couple of days that talk about the process in a little bit more detail. But, and you also find the video again, there, I'm just going to play the video on the GSN YouTube channel, as well as my own channel, and talking about a little bit of fun, Sue. This is fun that we had making the video, and it was made specifically for a large spa chain to help to get the entire spa team involved and to have fun around the auditing process. Thank you. There's a lot of information there, actually, and I think sharing it with your SPA teams will certainly make it fun and very educational. But thank you very much. I'm not sure that we're going to have time for questions, maybe one or two, Dara. But what I want to say is that GSN is a non-profit organization. We need your support to help us deliver educational tools to our community. So please join us. Let us have your suggestions and help us to serve a greater community for the greater good. Dara, do we have two questions maybe that we can quickly deal with?
Yes. The first question I have is, why are landfills environmentally harmful?
Who's going to take that?
If they're an open landfill, it's going to be methane. So as materials break down, they will emit methane, and that is one of the most harmful of the greenhouse gases, as we know. I think the numbers vary. I sometimes hear it's 10%, 10 times more heat emitting than CO2, and I've heard it as high as 28%. So I don't have the facts, but it is just the fact that it's emitting methane. Very hazardous.
And yes, sometimes, you know, when now I'm going to give you an opportunity. Yes, you know, when plastics deteriorate, they leach into the soils and it contaminates our soil. So that's that's very bad for agriculture. Now you raised your hand.
Yeah, just quickly add to these questions, because to answer this question, please just take one time to visit a real landfill and see what happened really there. So for my side, I really went to the island in the southern of Vietnam, Phu Quoc, and it's really like smelly from the far distance when I come to the big landfill there on this island. And you know, when you go inside the landfill, there's the people and households living there, because there's some of people they living by picking up the trash and then they're selling it. For example, they can take some recycled cans and bottle and they can sell it for money. And they do make a living on the landfill. And you know, the children and animals and everything is living there. And of course, with a certain living condition like that, the children don't have enough like healthy environment to grow well. And of course, you know, they playing with the trash, and imagine how they growing up with such area. But in fact, these landfill raise their life because people there living on the landfill.
No, yes, it's very damaging for the communities who live close by. Marion?
I feel like there are many reasons. This is the earth that we live in, to start with. And second, you know, throwing our disposals in the landfill not only contaminates landfill, it contaminates the water, the air, so many things. So, and it talks also about social responsibility and corporate responsibility, which I believe is extremely important to every company. You know, keeping your image as a social and corporate responsible company is extremely important. So there are many, you know, disadvantages to landfilling, definitely.
Another question, Dara?
Yes. How does a waste management program fit into one's budget?
Oh.
Who's up for that?
Saves you money.
Oh. Well, I mean, I guess I can start with that one. I guess there'd be a few ways. One, you can take your cost per service, entry fees, you can increase these marginally to compensate for the changes you make, the cost you're bringing on to validate. So when you're coming up on your annual budgets, by plugging in those increases on the supplies and just compensating that with the percentages, often you can get buy-in. A lot of times it's also a small step. So if you take that first initial step and then the next year you add another item and another item, and over time that just becomes the new norm. I mean, if you think about the process of redefining, in a sense, redefining luxury. So luxury, the expectation, and every property owner, it was like, you have that plastic water bottle sitting in their locker, so it's ready for them. And you have them all over the place, cold and room temperature, just waiting for the guests in, high quantities. And now that would be the opposite. So it's kind of redefining what is luxury, and sustainability is redefining that. So second to that is getting your marketing team to support that goal as well. So you look at about 66% of people, consumers, are specifically going to go to a location that is sustainable. Or they're more enticed and also to return to that location. Things like 70-something percent, 74% is millennials. So get that marketing to support that. If they can get that out to the social networks, whether it's people posting on location, there's a lot of hidden value. For every social post you get, for every media write-up you get, those have values of $7,000 to $35,000 per post or for article. So if you look at the amount of readers, and if they're picking up something that you're doing that is sustainable, kind of get other departments to kind of support that buy-in. When we first started the aluminum project for our bottled waters, I worked with our marketing department, and I said, hey, this would give us a QR code. You could put the property QR code on there. You could advertise any specials that are taking place. So they actually made the very first purchase on it for us. And then after that point, we were able to inherit it as our own cost, because they saw, the support we were getting from the community and our guests. So again, it can be small steps, and kind of getting other departments to buy in.
Right. No, thanks very much, Noelle.
I just have a question for Daniel. It sounds like you've had great success in implementing your programs. How did that begin? Because we hear of our spa directors, they're at capacity, and like, who is the cheerleader on your team that started taking this on? Because most properties don't have a sustainability director on property. So who started this?
Well, I think the director has to kind of start it. I mean, I was always interested in myself, but I was really driven when I went to my first GSN. I guess what I should say is I felt pretty alone, and I felt like I was just kind of putting my little 2 cents in the things that I believed in. But I think going to a conference, it was kind of more of a driving force. And then that was also where I started meeting other partners that also had that same passion. So there was a time when I was trying to find people that did no-touch therapy. Then COVID hits, and everybody's doing no-touch. All the equipment brands are carrying no-touch therapy, and they see the revenue streams of stuff that I was already, looking for before that. So I think it's, sometimes you just need that little bit of a feeling like you have people like-minded, and that was kind of what was my catalyst.
I think that's inspirational, because it's not always head of an owner of a company, or head of a company that is starting the strategy, starting these small little, programs. It's often somebody on your team. If you can find those people on your team that have a passion for this, I think it's the best way. It's the easiest way to just get started. To start somewhere, I think is where I'm going. We just have to start somewhere, and the more we start, the more we learn, Daniel, like you have. and we figure out who we can partner with to bring some of those things to life. Well done. That's amazing.
Yes, and I think this is a great, I'm so sorry, Marianne, I'm going to give you half a second, but I think this is a great way to end, Noel, with what you've said. It's about partnerships, it's about taking hands and doing it together, and, you know, finding like-minded organizations and people. Marianne, I'm going to give the last half a minute to you.
Of course, I'll be brief. I believe Daniel perfectly touched on two things that you can do to support financially your sustainability programs. I think you also opening up to the idea of exploring federal and state funding. It's very important too, that is out there. Sustainability, it's on the rise, and governments and entities and also getting on that wave. And I believe, exploring the existence of that is very important. And also, again, Daniel mentioned this, sustainability can be a great marketing asset, especially because consumers are looking for sustainable places and sustainable products. So if you have a strong sustainable program or recycling program that you are able to market properly, that will give you an immense, leverage, and it will make it successful, and it might eventually lead to support it financially through, the marketing approach.
Absolutely. Thank you very much to all of you. I know it's extremely late on your side now. Thank you so much for all you. I mean, some of you have to get up early and some of you have to stay super late. So thank you, and have a good afternoon and evening.
Thank you, everybody. Nice to see you.
Take care. Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye.